Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm David Martin, Chair of the Commission on Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development Commission, present at Central High School Building, 4th floor boardroom, 359 North West Street, Jackson, Mississippi, 39201. This is a regular meeting of the Commission being held today, Friday, November 3rd, 2023, at 10 a.m. pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 37-3-23 and 25-41-5, with some commission members present via teleconference means. Notice of this meeting, which included date, time, place, and purpose of the meeting and identified the location available to the public, has been posted. Audio recordings being made of this meeting and minutes of the meeting will be recorded as well. Item 1, meeting being called to order at 10:02 a.m. on Friday, November 3rd, 2023. We'll begin with establishment of a quorum. As I call commission members' names, please state that you're present and location of your presence. Dylan Baldwin.
I'm present in Natchez, Mississippi.
Thanks, sir. James Creel.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Sir. Rebecca Gray.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you. William Hamilton.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Thanks, sir.
Mary Hill
Taylor.
Mary Hill Taylor. Taylor.
We had one unrecognized number, so just checking.
John Howard.
John Howard.
John Howard.
Mr. Howard.
Howard. Kim Hubbard.
Kim Hubbard.
Kim Hubbard.
Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi.
Dr. Teresa
Dr.
J. Rowe.
Teresa J. Rowe.
Jackson, Jackson, Mississippi.
Dr. Burnell
Dr.
Kelly.
Burnell
Dr.
Kelly.
Burnell Kelly.
Jackson, Mississippi.
William Murphy.
William Murphy.
William Murphy.
Present,
Jackson, Mississippi.
Dr. Teresa
Dr.
Poole.
Teresa
Dr.
Poole.
Teresa Poole.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Dr. Shelley
Dr.
Simmons.
Shelley
Dr.
Simmons.
Shelley Simmons.
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Ms. Etta Taplin.
Ms. Etta Taplin.
And Mr. Aaron Wilson.
Mr. Aaron Wilson.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you all.
everybody being here. We'll just circle back on our two. We didn't have a response on just C. Miss Mary Hill
Mary
Taylor.
Hill Taylor.
And Mr. John Howard.
John Howard.
I'm trying to call in now, so if y'all log in with us, just be sure to kind of note that in the chat so we can have a record of that. A quorum of the commission is present. The location stated for meeting through in-person and teleconference means. Move on to item 3, approval of the minutes of our September 8th, 2023 meeting of the commission. Entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion to approve, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a second?
Need a second?
Burnell Kelly.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item 4, approval of minutes from the September 14th, 2023 special call meeting of the commission. Entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Aaron Wilson, motion to approve.
Sir. Need a second?
Second,
William Murphy.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item 5, approval of hearing of subcommittee minutes from September 8th, 2023. Commission members in attendance for that meeting were Aaron Wilson, Mary Hill Taylor, and William Murphy. Ms. Hill Taylor has not responded, so that'll put it down to Mr. Wilson and Mr. Murphy. Entertain a motion of approval.
Aaron Wilson, motion to approve.
Thank you. Need a second.
Second, William Murphy.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? That was subcommittee meetings. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number six, approval of subcommittee minutes from September 27th, 2023. Commission members in attendance for that meeting were Jamie Creel, Dr. Bernell Kelly, and William Murphy. Entertain a motion of approval.
Motion to approve Burnell Kelly.
Yes, ma'am. Need a second?
Second,
William Murphy. Thank you, sir. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item seven, approval of hearing subcommittee minutes, October 4th, 2023. Dr. Teresa Poole, Ms. Etta Taplin, Dr. Shelley Simmons. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve, Teresa Poole.
Thanks, ma'am. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, move on to today. Item 8, adoption of agenda. Entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Cleve, and so she's going to present to you guys today the results of the teacher retention survey that we've just gotten the results from for the most part. So, Dr. Van Cleve.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Martin, members of the commission, Dr. Murphy. It is our pleasure today to share an update on Mississippi's educator workforce. As Dr. Murphy shared, today we will be going through the high-level results of the teacher retention survey. But one thing that we like to also share is that the full results, all 80-something slides of them that we will not have you go through today, all of those full results are indeed available on our website on the talent acquisition page. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right on in. As you know, at the Mississippi Department of Education, it is our vision to create a world-class educational system that gives students the knowledge and skills to be successful in college and the workforce and to flourish as parents and citizens. Within that, it is our mission to provide leadership through the development of policy and accountability systems so that all students are prepared to compete in the global community. In order to achieve this vision and mission, our State Board of Education has set forth 6 strategic plan goals. Within our work within teaching and leading, we focus on goal 4. Every school has effective teachers and leaders, even as we believe that lays the firm foundation for many of the positive student outcomes that we look to see, such as those listed in goals 1, 2, 3, and 6. As we continue our pursuit of goal 4, one area that we take to heart on a daily basis is operating with a sense of the Mississippi educator career continuum, where we work to support our teachers from recruitment to retirement. And so today we'll be going through a lot of factors with regard to teacher retention, but you'll also see some information regarding recruitment, hiring, supporting, and empowering our teachers throughout the full survey results, as well as we know that those elements are indeed interconnected. And so with that being said, we'll move on into the statewide results. For today, again, one area we wanted to note is that we did indeed use, by and large, the same survey that we used last year. The reason for that is we wanted to establish a firm baseline. So much of the context is the same this year as it was last year in terms of the survey's design. We've continued to lean on North Carolina's working conditions survey, Tennessee's educator survey, and our own Mississippi workforce initiatives. We launched it on April 14th of 2023 and closed it on June 30th, 2023. This year, we did have a higher response and completion rate with 9,448 teachers responding to the survey and 6,267 who actually completed the survey out of a total of 31,858 teachers for the 22-23 school year. Again, the survey was indeed anonymous this year, and we'll go through some points of reflection. I think a point of reflection for us is that we do want to continue to up the completion rate year over year. We saw a steeper drop-off rate. Part of what we're attributing that to is it is indeed a very comprehensive survey at 73 questions long, and if you've administered surveys before, you tend to know that the longer a survey is, the less likely somebody is to complete it. We made that call because we did want to have this firm year-over-year baseline, but we do anticipate administering a much shorter survey next year on some of these trends that we're seeing to tailor it, target it a bit more, and boost our completion rate as a whole. So with that being said, we wanted to start with an overview of what you all can expect to see when you dig into some of the full results of the survey. This is a sample question with regard to onboarding. And so what you'll see here is that in the first column, you've got the 21-22 results. The second column is going to give you the 22-23 results. And the third column is going to give you the year-over-year difference. And so with that being said, we're going to go into some notable trends and upticks that we saw for this particular year, but we did want to highlight this slide because it's far more indicative of the results as a whole, wherein we saw a lot of consistency year over year. There were a lot of questions where we really didn't see the rate of agreement or disagreement shift much more than 2 to 3 percentage points overall. So again, indicating that it was a fairly consistent experience for respondents who completed this survey since this same time last year. So then moving into where we did see some upticks and or had new information on this, if you've got this particular with this particular slide, what you'll see is where we actually had a new question. And so based on the feedback from one of our board members last year, we wanted to dig a bit deeper into mentoring and what makes mentoring programs effective. And so here the results are showing that really a big priority for schools and districts in terms of a mentoring program is in ensuring that those individuals are actually teaching in the same subject area. That was the area that came out very strongly. In terms of mentoring functions, a couple key elements came into play. Things about support for professional tasks, elements for new teachers, like how do you get ready for your first parent-teacher conference? Also, observation and coaching from mentors came out as a big factor. Where it got interesting for us, though, is when we look at the years of experience. And so they cited it as being more effective when the mentor has 5 or more years of experience than the mentee. That actually dropped off, though, when you get to things like 15 or more years of experience. So when schools and districts are considering mentor-mentee partnerships, things to keep in mind, number 1, subject area matching, but then also number 2, matching some of the proximity of those years of experience tends to be a bit more impactful. One of those notes of reflection for us, this was a multiple selection question because we see these items as being interconnected, but next year what we'd likely do is split these out into 3 separate questions so we can drill down a bit more deeply into what's most important. Is it the years of experience? Is it that grade level content area matching? Or is it some of the actual functions that a mentor performs? So with that being said, then we'll move into some points of reflection for our schools and districts. One of the areas where we did see an uptick in the working conditions element was around teachers being allowed to focus on educating students with minimal interruptions. So we saw the rate of agreement drop on this question and the rate of disagreement went up on this question. And so again, we thought this was a timely finding, knowing that we're kind of coming out of the homecoming homecoming season, heading into holiday programming, all of the kind of announcements and runners and things that can happen on a daily basis. The reflection to offer is just, are there more proactive means of notification systems so that we're not interrupting teachers as frequently throughout the instructional day. So with that being said, though, one thing that we're also excited to highlight is we did see some notable upticks in terms of the interactions between school leaders and teachers. This question actually had some of the largest overall upticks in terms of the rates of agreement, which was around teacher performance being assessed objectively and teachers receiving feedback to help them improve teaching. And so one area that we're excited for on that particular question is our partnership with our Mississippi Regional Education Service Agencies, or our RESAs. We have worked with them for just over a year to offer increased access to professional growth system training statewide in an effort to provide that objective feedback and meaningful coaching. So we're certainly seeing some of the upticks in relation to that effort here. And then so moving forward into other points where we saw some notable increases was around across the board any question with regard to increased teacher compensation. So we saw a number of those different upticks. We do what we always do, which is we dug into the teachers' comments, around 6,000 or so of them. And actually, to use a teacher's term, the prevailing theme was what they cited was outside economic demands, things like rising fuel costs, insurance premiums, inflation rates, or some of that driving force around questions with regard to compensation. Where we do think it gets interesting here, though, is respondents, as they were looking at what is most impactful for recruiting other teachers, they cited additional teacher pay raises. But when we asked them what is the thing that keeps them in the classroom, they themselves cited their interactions with students as being the most influential factor. So we know that the heart, the desire, the drive is still there. There are just, again, some of these outside economic demands. So at the same time, to end that on the positive note, in terms of some of the findings that we indeed have here today, is that, again, the quality of resources, instructional practices, learning environments, PD, and community support were very consistent throughout the year. School leaders are increasingly providing those objective observations and feedback to improve teaching. Compensation is a consideration for teachers due to current economic demands, and not necessarily a surprise, but teachers certainly confirm that they do indeed continue teaching primarily because of their students. So with that, again, we'll move into quickly some state level strategies that we will continue throughout this year. As a result, I highlighted our partnership with our Mississippi RESAs. We started that just over a year ago and have already trained over 1,000 administrators and educators alike on the professional growth system. So we're excited to continue that into this year, even as we look for other opportunities to continue partnering with our Mississippi RESAs. And then in terms of a second strategy, as many of you all are familiar with at this point, we've recently restructured into the Office of Educator Continuum to offer that dedicated support from recruitment to retirement on a daily basis. In order to achieve that, we house the divisions of educator talent acquisition, preparation, effectiveness, professional development, and pathway innovation. And as a final positive note in terms of just committing to the impact that our teachers make on a daily basis on behalf of our students. We're excited to relaunch the Elevate Teachers Conference last summer. Many of our universities and districts participated in that. We had over 300 participants in an event that was designed to celebrate, inspire, and empower Mississippi's teachers. And I always like to say, if you know one thing, teachers are some of the hardest audiences on earth. And so to get these kinds of results from our participants, we're particularly proud of and are excited to continue that event moving forward. And so with that, I'll go ahead and take any questions or comments.
I don't have a question on the comments side. I attended the training over at Licensure in Hattiesburg and appreciate y'all doing that. Of course, it was a lot more in-depth than slides online, or even more in-depth. If you haven't taken a look at those, definitely take a look. And it's definitely a topic we've got to dig into and look at, because the teacher shortage is out there and it's affecting more and more. And it used to be kind of elementary was easy to come by. We're starting to see it in elementary. High schools and all were already tougher in some of those subject areas, but even our elementary, your more broad range pool is not as large as it used to be. So we appreciate y'all looking into that. There's some very interesting information on there if you hadn't seen it.
I'm curious about how we could get more teachers to take the survey. I mean, it's still really low. I know my superintendent emails it like, do this, but there's no like,
Not forced.
there's no,
You don't do it,
Yeah.
I mean, but thank you. I appreciate it. Also, I think sometimes the time of the year where it's, I don't know if it's not a little bit crazy. Actually, but,
Yeah.
did it go out in April?
It is
historically gone out in April, and so I think there are a couple of different areas that we're considering. One is just admittedly, like I shared, is a shorter survey, so that we hope will help folks, because I think where we do see, again, we have like 9,000 folks who started, get down to 6,000 at the end, and that's a steep drop off just in terms of length. So we're hoping one, by administering a shorter survey. Two also is, potentially consideration around sort of time of the year. We get it out a bit earlier than we have previously, potentially extending the window even a bit more. And then the other area is in the future, we're hoping with Mecca to actually be able, that we've got elements in there with some survey functionality, or at the
very least to be able to make sure that it's kind of a notification system for teachers, because part of what it is making sure that where we currently are is in a place of having kind of the email information that is as current as the information that we receive, whereas within Mecca we know we have access to every teacher's information, and so being able to send out some push notifications that way too. So, but yeah, certainly trying to get a few. The struggle is we keep it anonymous because we want teachers to be really honest, and because we keep it anonymous, there really isn't a way to track back who has or hasn't taken it. So, well, definitely got a few strategies in place to continue to boost it. Yeah. Yeah, and again, when you look at the full results, it'll show kind of some different demographic, like years of experience, traditional prep versus alternate prep, and I would agree overall, it's a pretty representative sample.
Like if they were elementary or secondary in that?
I don't know if we did the breakdown by, I know we did breakdowns by years of experience, alternate route, traditional prep, gender, race, ethnicity. I would have to check on subject area breakouts. Yeah.
You think that ratio drops down from 10 years of experience or more based on the inferiority complex, teacher not feeling adequate enough? I mean, when somebody gets to 10 to 15 years and you're a new teacher coming in there being a mentee, you kind of look at it as I'm just simply inferior to someone who may not have been in it as long as 5 years. That's why you had the success there. Or?
Yeah, I think that's possibly one explanation. I think there might also be another explanation, might be just the element of having a mentor who's kind of been there within a few years of it. Like, yeah, I remember my first parent-teacher conference. I remember not sleeping that night because I was terrified of the conversation I was going to have with Miss Courtney's mom. That I think maybe some of that element of having a mentor who was in kind of the newbie shoes more recently might be another area too. But I think your explanation is also quite a possibility.
Other questions? Appreciate that. That was a good survey. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That concludes our update.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. That was our updates. Move on to item 10, discussion and/or approval of iTeach Mississippi as an improved educator preparation provider, EPP, offer a non-traditional pathway to teacher licensure. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, sir. So you may recall on July 7th of this year, the commission voted to recommend this pathway to the State Board of Education for consideration for approval to begin operating as an educator preparation provider for certain non-traditional certain subject areas. And so this item was presented to the board on July 27 at its regular meeting. And during that meeting, they remanded the item back to the commission for further discussion, given some concerns that were raised by some institutions for the most part. And so the item today is basically being brought back to you for further discussion.
All right, so we have a motion for approval. Please identify yourselves for the record. Just a reminder, we get the motion second, and then there's the discussion. So we have a motion.
Chairman Martin, can we discuss this topic a little bit, or is it not time to do that?
Got it listed after the motion, but I think we can before. Yes, we can. We can rearrange that a little bit.
So looking into this program, and I understand the teacher shortage is out there. My concerns is as accountability continues to escalate, putting teachers that go through modules of this nature is concerning to me, because of the fact of the resources that they don't have once they get in there. You know, I know when you go through the programs at the institutions of higher learning, they have resources for you. You can always have a mentor coming back from those schools to help. And it just concerns me a little bit putting teachers into a classroom after completing these modules and basically being babysat by a principal who doesn't simply have the time to mentor and help these educators that are now been turned loose in the school. That is one. I don't know if anybody else has any concerns about that. I wish there were some other ways because I do recognize the teacher shortage is real. And I know there's other ways to fix it, and those are for a later date. But those are just my feelings looking over it. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels. But having modules where you can self-pace yourself without going through the process of student teaching and those other things really concerns me. If some of you institutes of higher learning would like to comment on that, I would certainly welcome that, or anyone else.
Ma'am.
I would like to say that the institutions of higher learning, both public and private, work together across the state. We have common assessments. We talk about our internship experience, not only our traditional but our non-traditional programs. We turn in information on our candidates in all of our programs for program review to MDE. Closely as a group with MDE on our assessments that we use to ensure our teachers are prepared. And on the field experiences, which would be the supervision that they're offered as they complete these internships, which would address what you're talking about, how they're supported in the classrooms. So we have concerns about not following and using the same data points that we use, the same assessments.
Yes, and just going back to just the module piece of the personal experience, most of us do have online programs that we offer, but I remember getting a call when we had the waiver, and from actually Dr. Burson, she's like, Teresa, how are you working with these teachers? You know, you have a great number of teachers, how are you supporting them? Well, we had to hire more people to work. I mean, we have online there, and that's important to us to be convenient for teachers to take these courses. But it does not leave out the element of the teacher, the actual professor who goes out there and works with that teacher. And we've actually had to hire people in different locations because going to Columbus from Hattiesburg is not an easy thing, but teachers need people to come through and come in. And that's, as a parent, that's important to me, to have teachers who have support and have people who are willing to come out to do that.
How do we tie this, Dr. Murphy, to some type of accountability, checks and balances, if that makes any sense, as opposed to somebody just going online, going through the 10 to 15 modules and then saying, okay, now you're certified to go into a classroom. How can we put in some checks and balances? Because nobody in this room will deny that there's a teacher shortage and we need them. How do we ensure that whoever goes into this classroom is going to meet the needs of these kids? And I know alternate route, there's been great teachers. Traditional route, great I mean, nothing to say. And we don't want to diminish or not bring in quality teachers. But I think there needs to be some sort of checks and balances that goes along with this moving forward to allow these people to become certified.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, that's the role of the commission. So whatever, I guess, requirements you desire to see as a part of the program and you desire the potential provider adhere to, that's something that you actually do. And so you don't have to vote today for the most part. If you wanted to, if the chair decides to have an ad hoc committee take a look and you actually put some parameters in place for the most part to ensure the accountability that you're talking about, that's up to you to decide. That's your role as the Licensure Commission before it gets moved to the State Board of Education for the most part.
So for this, we currently have about 3 of those non-IHEs in our state right now. There are 3 that are similar to this one.
Yeah, so right now, all right, so we had MAPQT, the Mississippi Alternate Path to Quality Teachers, and Quality School Leadership, and that was administered by the Community College Foundation. And so that was one that was a huge help, especially for the Delta and across the state, in that they had, I guess, sites across every congressional district. And so that was a huge hit for us. And when we got the notification in late 2018, early 2019, that the Community College Foundation Board decided to focus their efforts on other workforce areas instead of teacher workforce. And so that's where we really been hit there, and that they produced. And so that was one that was offered during the summer. And so candidates would complete a 3-week training during the summer. And by end of summer, they'd actually be licensed. They'll receive a 3-year license to do their internship. And by the spring, they were fully certified if they successfully completed the 1-year internship portion of that. And the other is kind of tied to institutions, and that the law requires it, and that's the Teach Mississippi Institute. And you'll find that one, I think, in 37326B. And so the law prescribes, how that particular program operates. It's an 8-week training. When it was first initiated as a pilot program, it's far beyond a pilot at this point. It's hard to get language changed in law, of course. And so, but nonetheless, it's an 8-week training during the summer in the past, but now we have one institution that actually offers that program, administered that, and that's Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. And so 8 weeks of training, they receive their license to do the internship, and by the end of the year, they're able to actually obtain their full state certification. And so Teach for America is another, and of course, they have training modules and things of that nature. You may be familiar with those. And then we have ABCTE, that is one that is not based in the state of Mississippi. And that one, of course, requires training, testing. All of them, of course, requires the assessments and so on and so forth across the board. So
that was my question. So, like, if we have those, because I really want to help too. I want to help to taking my job out of this equation. Thank you. Just have those others, are they successful, or how are they, is there a reason to add another one? That's just my question.
Yeah, so we lost one.
Okay.
And I'll say this. Let me preface by saying this. As the State Department of Education, we're not for or against. The bottom line is, just like anyone who applies to your institution, you basically take the documents that they present to you. You never know who's going to apply. And you basically see how it aligns to the standards that have been established by the board or the faculty senate, whoever makes those rules. And so the same thing here. they start with our educator preparation division, Dr. Burson and her team, and they submit the application that's posted online just as you guys would do. And basically, we utilize that as the standard. And once they've actually met those standards, we present it to the commission. That's the next step in the process. You guys decide to approve it or not approve it. You approve it, we move it on to the State Board of Education for final approval. And so, so that's what happened with this program and any other potential provider that decides they want to offer services in the state of Mississippi. And so with ABCTE, I was here at the time. I was director of licensure. And so we were basically charged to convene an ad hoc committee. And the requirements that you see outlined there came out of that ad hoc committee of members of the commission for the most part. And so we're consistent in how we approach it, in that we have to have, objective measures as to, how we operate, and that's how it came to you. When it was voted, that's how we moved it forward. And the board decided to remand it back because of the comments that were made. But nonetheless, any organization, has the liberty to present to us, and we'll follow that same process and bring it to you, and you decide to vote it up or down for the most part. And so another question was asked, I think, before about Teach Mississippi Institute, and you just asked the question. Those are viable programs, and we've been asking for years, and we've been sharing for years, the need for us to create pathways that are indeed relevant to the folks that we're trying to recruit today. And that we can't continue to try to force individuals down the same, pipelines or pathways, so to speak. And so, institutions and other organizations, we need you guys to make certain that you're partnering with the school districts, finding out what their needs are, and creating pathways that are relevant to them. And so we tried to demonstrate that as an agency when in 2018, we conducted focus groups. And so we went out and we talked to those districts and talked to the folks in the field and asked, why aren't you choosing education? Or why do you believe you're having this issue? And we found that, just as it was stated, someone stated it, folks who the institution's 5 miles down the road, they don't have transportation. Aside from that, they don't have funding to pay for it. So it's what we found, and those are just two examples. There wasn't a shortage of individuals who were not interested in education. We have lots of folks who were interested. It was other things that were factors that hindered them from doing so. And so we came back and we found that, again, one other example is those who are holding emergency certificates are making an impact on student achievement, and they're performing at or above where someone who's actually going through our institutions, our alternative pathways, their students are achieving above and or at proficiency and things of that nature. But do we just push them out, or do we create a relevant pathway for those candidates? And so what I'm getting at is the pathways that we brought to you a few years ago by way of pilot, and now by way of trying to codify it, are PBL, performance-based licensure, for that person that was having an impact, but couldn't pass an assessment for the most part to gain entree into the program. But at least once they get that license, now they'll be able to go into your master's level programs and advanced, degrees and get advanced studies and things of that nature. MTR was created for those who couldn't afford or who couldn't actually drive 5 miles down the road. And so now they're able to, obtain their services online. You're able to go out to meet them where they are in their institutions. So that's all we're asking here is that, anything, let's make certain that we have pathways. We're working with districts and it's relevant to those that we're recruiting. We're not in the times when I was coming through for the most part, when they were trying out, online services and things of that nature. But nonetheless, long way of answering your question. Yes, you can strengthen those pathways, or you can, present options to us for the most part. And that's what we've been asking for. And that's why you've seen us, we'll ask, but we still have folks sitting next to me, not only when he's sitting next to me, but him and his buddies when we're out in the field, and I'm receiving thousands of emails from principals and others about the shortage. And we're asking for help. And so what do we do? Do we wait, or do we go ahead and create? And so we started to create. And that's where you're seeing PBL and MTR come from for the most part. I mean, we want to partner. We want to do that. It's not pushing folks out the door. It's just we have thousands of students out there, and he shares lots of stories about, having to just place someone in there temporarily, hoping that, they get through the 4 or 5 year degree track for the most part. But I'll be quiet though.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up
Yes, ma'am.
because we want the same thing. But we work within the parameters that we're given. So now that I know that there's an opportunity for us to find innovative or creative ways to get teachers into classrooms, like I said, it's personal for me as well. It's we can look at that.
You mentioned the TMI again, and I've asked about that too. And it is listed as pilot, and you said it's difficult to get through legislation, but there are things that we can do in state.
Yeah, and in the state, it's no longer a pilot at this point. In 2004, when it was implemented, for the most part, I mean, they started it as a pilot, but it's really a thing now. It's just trying to get that language changed. Well, that piece taken out, so to speak. But yeah, it's definitely an option. And even if it's not, the law allows the State Board of Education to create additional pathways. And that means you create pathways and present, they approve additional pathways. So we're not restricted to, TMI, and you see that through the creation of the MTR pathway and the PBL pathway, and that the law gives the State Board of Education the liberty, but it's basically through what you present to them. So you're the body that create these pathways and present to them, and when they get to them, they believe that they're good to go, and so, yes, you have that liberty.
Dr. Murphy, Chairman Martin, I'd like to suggest that we do an ad hoc committee maybe to have further discussion on this and maybe set the parameters a little bit more specific as to what we would like to see in iTeach. I think there's a lot of conversation going on. So, and from experience, I think that this could work, but we need to set it to where it's working similar to what the other programs are working, make sure it's within the ramifications of Mississippi Department of Education. So maybe that could be a starting point for us at this point.
And if you just had somebody come in on the back end, to assess what they've learned through the modules, I'm sure all the institutes of higher learning could provide some 2-week to a month process, just to, because I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than putting a teacher in there that is not going to be suitable, and it's not good for children. And I'm firm agreement with Ms. Taplin on that, and I'm not totally against this because I do understand the teacher shortage. It is real, especially when you start getting into various sections of the state. And whatever we can do to get them in there, I'm all for that. And whatever these ladies can do and other institutes of higher learning can do to create creative ways to get people into the education field, I'm all for that too.
Yes, sir. The program can look however you desire it to look. And I'll give you one example, and that's ABCTE. ABCTE is really a test. And so that's what they presented to us. And our state, State Department as well as you guys stated, no, we can't just have someone taking an assessment and getting a license and just moving into the classroom to provide direct instruction, assigning grades. And so that's when they tied, the requirement that they actually complete one of our pathways and so on and so forth to those requirements. And so you decide what it looks like is what I'm saying in the end. So you have that. And I'll give you one more example. MAPQT was one that you guys voted and forwarded to the State Board of Education. They gave final approval that pathway had to be approved each year in order to operate. And so the state superintendent had to sign off on a memorandum of understanding. And we built in what you talked about, review of the program every year, annually. All of the elements that you placed in there that you wanted looked at, and they had to actually meet those marks before the state superintendent of education allowed them to operate again the next year, so to speak. So what I'm saying is the program can look the way that you desire it to look for the most part as a commission.
So, Chairman, do we make a motion to create an ad hoc committee? How would we need to do that?
Yeah, I think what we do is probably officially we'll table it and then just create an ad hoc committee. Oh. Yes, sir.
I teach. Like something else, or we have the wherewithal to add to the iTeach?
Well, iTeach is its own institute. company, for lack of a better thing, so we can't change their name. They came in with their proposal.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
but yeah, you can, the criteria that they're to operate under, you can actually create what that looks like, so to speak. You know, you can couple that with what they offer.
Reject, I teach.
Table it, is what he's saying.
That's what we're saying.
We need
We'll
to
table it, hold it. Let's create an ad hoc committee to come in and answer some of these questions, delve a little bit further into it, and then maybe make some recommendations. And it would be up to them. If they go, well, I'm not willing to do that, then we wouldn't vote it as is. We'd deny it. Or they say, hey, there's a couple things we could add. We'd be willing to do that. And we'll say, well, if you're going to work with our state, that's what we require. And then we'd vote up or down on that.
Recognize the shortage.
Yeah. Motion to table.
Any further discussion?
I don't think so.
I think that's where we're at.
Okay.
Have a motion to table. Mr. Creel.
Second. Etta Taplin.
Have a second. Ms. Taplin. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry. Any opposed? We have a motion to table. Move on to item 11, approval of Alcorn State University's initial level preparation programs as a result of the state standards-based educator preparation program reviews and national accreditation decisions. Dr. Burson?
Good morning, Chairman Martin, Dr. Murphy, members of commission. Your backup material should have looked familiar to you because we've seen this document for other institutions in the past. Our EPPs, our providers, are on a rotating schedule with national accreditation that occurs every 7 years. During a 7-year cycle, the university or the EPP, whomever, whether that be an institution-based or others that are non-institution-based, they would have to go through a mid-cycle program review. And what that entails is a very deep dive into every program that the EPP has state board approval for licensure to recommend candidates for. And so the first, you have 3 today, and the first that we bring to you requesting your approval is Alcorn State University. And you would note in their backup, very pleased to note, again, this is a Frank Murray Leadership Award winner with CAPE, which is the national accreditor. This award is awarded to EPPs who have a clean slate on national accreditation. No areas for improvement, no stipulations. Most recently, we brought to you Delta State's approval, and they were an award winner. This award has been in effect for 3 years, and we are excited that Alcorn State was a recipient this time. And in the backup, you would see that there were initial reviews conducted. We call these the formative reviews. We work with the universities or the providers to share reviewers' feedback in comparison to the rubrics and the standards that we have, and recommendations are made for improvement. You can see at the final review, all standards were met for all of the programs that they have listed. So unless you have questions about Alcorn, I will say that concludes my presentation for them.
Questions, Dr. Person? All right, then we'll entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion to approve, Cam Hubbard.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a second?
Second, Burnell Kelly.
Ma'am. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, move on to item number 12. I see Dr. J-Rowe is already stepping out. This involves her institution. Approval of Mississippi State University's initial level preparation programs, a result of the state standards-based education preparation program reviews and national accreditation decisions. Dr. Burson.
This would be the same thing for Mississippi State as Alcorn. One point that I think that I would like to bring to your attention is on that initial level, in case you might want a little clarity. We have initial level programs at the baccalaureate degree. We also have initial level programs at the advanced degree, meaning a school administrator, school counselor, where it's your first license at the advanced level. So those programs are a part of the review too. So just wanted to provide that for you in case you didn't know that. So initial level does not necessarily mean it's the first bachelor's level teaching license. It could be an advanced level. And so that's what's included in the programs that have been reviewed and the recognitions that have been made by CAPE, because CAPE accredits both the baccalaureate level and advanced level programs. Mississippi State also is a Frank Murray Leadership Recognition winner. We are very delighted to say that. And you can see the programs that they have that are recognized by our specialized professional associations that I did not bring to your attention on Alcorn. They had some as well. And other programs that are accredited beyond CAPE. CAPE is the accreditor for the unit or the entity that provides the programming. However, some special areas, as music education, school counseling, school psychology, also have accreditors. And we, as the State Department, allow our EPPs to decide whether or not they want to do the accreditation. We don't require that. State Board policy does require a national accreditation by CAPE or the provider with whom we have a partnership, and at this time it's CAPE. And so these are the other accreditors that this EPP has selected to be accredited by, as well as recognition through the specialty organizations. And that would conclude what I have for Mississippi State, unless you have questions.
Questions for Dr. Burson? All right, entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Approval, Jamie Creel.
Mary Hill Taylor, motion to approve.
Mr. Creel beat you to it. We'll take a second, though.
Okay. Mary Hill Taylor, second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, move on to item number 13, approval of the University of Mississippi's initial level preparation programs, a result of state standards-based educator preparation program reviews and national accreditation decisions. Dr. Burson.
Okay, three's a charm. This is the last one, guys, for today. And it bringing to you the University of Mississippi. They too won the Frank Murray Leadership Recognition. Three this time for Mississippi, and we had the pleasure of being at the CAPE conference this fall in September. Dr. Stulig and I attended as state directors. And I will tell you, we were most delighted to hear the state of Mississippi called up 3 times. This does not happen. It is not an easy task to win this award, meaning no areas for improvement and no stipulations. So just wanted to make that, because these 3 all have it today. It doesn't mean that they are all going to receive this recognition. It is a very prestigious recognition, and we feel strongly that the work that we've done in the state collaboratively to establish the work that we do around program reviews has really bolstered our EPPs on the national level with accreditation. And so just as I mentioned for the others, Ole Miss has accreditation for NASM, K-CREP, and speech language. They are also recognized by the National Policy Board for Ed Administration. NELP is the acronym that's used there for the standards that prepare school administrators. So without further ado, that would be all that I have for this third.
Any discussion, any questions? All right. Entertain a motion for approval. Ma'am, need a second?
Second, Jamie Creel.
Sir? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to item number 14, discussion and/or approval to begin the Administrative Procedures Act process to revise Mississippi Animated Code 7-4, Part 4, Licensure Guidelines K-12 to outline provisions for the teaching commitment with the residency teacher license. Dr. Van Cleve.
Hello again. So, as for this particular item, as you all know, this commission did indeed approve the resident teacher license on July 8th, 2022, in order to outline the requirements for the 3-year resident teacher license, along with those for conversion to the 5-year license, including but not limited to a 2-year teaching commitment subject to the source of funding for residents. Essentially, the premise there being that within the Mississippi Teacher Residency, as you all know, it's a fully funded program, tuition-free, mentor stipends, everything's included. There also needs to be some sort of commitment to our Mississippi Geographical Critical Shortage districts in this particular iteration of it. That teaching commitment is both common within the residency, within our Mississippi residency program, but it's also very common within national residency programs as well. That being said, as we are indeed approaching the end of ESSER funding, we've also received inquiries and feedback from districts and universities alike who are looking at other funding sources in order to continue the Mississippi teacher residency moving forward. And so essentially all this does is then clarify that 2-year teaching commitment subject to the source of funds, which may include, university grants, scholarships, local district funds, and or any combination therein. So essentially that is all that this is doing, is just clarifying that teaching commitment moving forward.
All right, any questions?
All right, so during this period, can they add an endorsement?
So that is the piece of why we wanted to clarify it, because when they are actually, the lever that we have is in the conversion from the 3-year to the 5-year. And so then until they actually have that 5-year, that is when you could then move. So then this also clarifies that ability to then, subsequent to this teaching commitment, then begin adding endorsements as well.
Questions, discussion? All right, entertain a motion for approval.
Aaron Wilson, motion to approve.
Second, Etta Taplin.
Sir, thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item number 15, approval of ratifications of agreed upon orders and or voluntary surrenders. Mr. Scott DeYoung.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Good morning, Commission members, Dr. Murphy. The Office of Educator Misconduct would like to present 10 agreed orders today for consideration of ratification. We're going to do it a little different today in hopes of condensing it, but we do have 5 Standard 10 breach of contracts, and we have 5 Standard 4 educator-student relationships. In the first case, let me preface this. The following educators have entered into agreed orders for violation of Mississippi Code Annotated 37957 and Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. All have consented to enter into the agreed orders relinquishing their educator licenses without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. All the following licenses shall be relinquished, suspended, or otherwise surrendered from the date of ratification by the commission through June 30, 2024. All licenses will be eligible for reinstatement upon conclusion of the suspension period, and the respondent must petition for reinstatement of their educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. Educator Olivia Cowart, license number 255159, admits breaching contract with the Biloxi Public School District on or about May 1st, 2023. Naomi Porter, license number 333035, admits breaching contract with the Rankin County School District on or about October 13th, 2023. Angela Watkins, license number 328973, admits breaching contract with the Jackson Public School District on or about August 23rd, 2023. Andrew Lawler, license number 321858, admits breaching contract with the Jackson Public School District on or about August 28th, 2023. Katie McGraw, license number 329443, admits breaching contract with the Rankin County School District on or about August 16th, 2023. The standard 4 cases for presentation and consideration: Lewis Henderson, license number 197946, admits violating standard 4 while employed with the Biloxi Municipal School District on or about October 19th, 2023. The respondent, Lewis Henderson, has consented to entering into an agreed order placing license on probation for 1 calendar year from date of ratification by the commission. It's further agreed that the respondent will complete coursework related to proper and ethical student-educator relationships and our classroom management. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics Standard of Conduct will result in the immediate suspension of license for 1 year, after which time the respondent may petition for reinstatement of educator license. Ronnie Knox, license number 319325, admits violating standard 4 while employed with the Wilkinson County School District, resulting in his termination on or about May 1st, 2023. The respondent, Ronnie Knox, has consented to entering into an agreed order placing his license on probation for 2 calendar years from date of ratification by the commission. It's further agreed that the respondent will complete coursework equivalent to no less than 6 course hours related to proper and ethical student-educator relationships and/or classroom management. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct will result in the immediate suspension of his license for 2 years, after which time he may petition for reinstatement of his educator license. Donna Rutherford, license number 132773, admits violating standard 4 while employed with the Ocean Springs School District on or about August 28, 2023. The respondent has consented to entering into agreed order, placing license on probation for 1 calendar year from date of ratification by the commission. It's further agreed that the respondent will complete coursework equivalent to no less than 3 course hours related to proper and ethical student-educator relationships and/or classroom management. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct will result in the immediate suspension of license for 1 year, after which time respondent may petition for reinstatement of educator license. Darius Walker, number 251901, admits violating standard 4 while employed with the Pearl Municipal School District during the 2022-2023 school year. The respondent, Darius Walker, has consented to entering into an agreed order suspending license for 2 calendar years from date of ratification by the commission. After such suspension, he he may petition for reinstatement of his educator license. The commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's license only by a majority of commission members present and after showing evidence of rehabilitation. Shannon Matheny, license number 241612, admits violating Standard 4 while employed with the Harrison County School District during the 2022-2023 school year. The respondent, Shannon Matheny, has consented to enter into an agreed order, placing license on probation for 2 calendar years from the date of ratification by the commission. Further agreed that the respondent will complete coursework related to proper and ethical student-educator relationships and/or classroom management. Any violations of state or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct will result in the immediate suspension of license for 1 year, after which time the respondent may petition for reinstatement of educator license. This concludes the agreed orders. The Office of Educator Misconduct requests that you consider these for ratification.
Thank you, sir. As always, we know that's a lot of work, so I appreciate you putting all that together and handling it. We'll entertain a motion for approval. Please identify yourself for the record. Ma'am, need a second?
Second. Jamie Creel.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for that. We realize that's a lot of effort goes into those, so we appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
We're getting ready to move on to item number 16 in just a moment, but Ms. Taylor, what is your location so we can have that for the record?
I'm in Choctaw, Mississippi.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 16, adjournment. Just a reminder, our next meeting is coming up for Friday, January 5th, 2024 at 10 a.m. here, and we will be looking at a ad hoc committee to look at that other item. So with that, we'll entertain a motion for approval. For adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, Kim Hubbard.
Ms. Hubbard, thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Hamilton, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Always appreciate your time. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate your service.